So the next important concept in banking law unit 4 is endorsement or endorsement. So both are same terms, endorsement or endorsement. It is contained under section 48 of the NI Act 1881. So what do you mean by endorsement? Endorsement is made by signing the name of the endorser or the endorser on back of the instrument. So if the person who is the holder, he wants to give it to some other person, he wants to negotiate to other person or deliver it to other person, then he can do so by just delivering the instrument, by handing over into him, or he can do it by endorsement. So by endorsement means he has to sign behind the back of the instrument. He will do his signature on the back of that instrument and then deliver it to other person. So he will transfer the instrument to other person by doing so. Then this by doing signature, if you transfer it to other person, then it is called endorsement, delivery by endorsement. So if back is full, if the instrument is if back is already full with the endorsements or by signatures, then he can attach a paper and sign on that paper. It is called as a launch. So negotiation by endorsement means endorsement plus a delivery. So he will have to sign behind that instrument plus he will have to deliver that instrument to other person. It is called negotiation by endorsement. So under section 51, who can endorse? So the payee of the instrument can endorse. So the one who is getting paid or the holder can endorse this instrument. Kinds of endorsement. So what are the kinds of endorsement? The first kind of endorsement is endorsement in blank. So if the endorser signs only his name on the back of the instrument, then it is called endorsement in blank. He is not writing the person to whom he wants to endorse or the person to whom he wants to transfer it. He is not writing it, but he is only doing his signature. Then it is called endorsement in blank. The next is endorsement in full. So the endorser adds to his signature the name of the person whom he wants the instrument to be paid. Then it is called endorsement in full. So along with the signature, he is writing the person to whom he wants it to transfer. It is called endorsement in full. Example, pay B or order signed by A. So in this he is specifying that it is to be paid to B and he is doing his signature. So this is endorsement by full. The next is restrictive endorsement. So restrictive endorsement means the endorser restricts the endorsee from further negotiation by express words in instrument. So the endorser who is delivering this instrument to the endorsee, he will restrict the endorsee from further negotiating it, from further transferring it. So this is the final transfer. So this is called restrictive endorsement. Illustration: pay the contents to C only. So if it is written that to pay him only, then it is called restrictive endorsement. This person C cannot further negotiate this instrument. So this payment has to be done only to C. The next is endorsement sans recourse. So in this, the endorser does not want to incur any liability as endorser. So after delivering this instrument, the endorser doesn't want to take any liability. The payee has to take all the liability. If it is any fraud happens or something happens to the title, then the endorser doesn't want to take liability after transferring. So after transferring, the only endorser has to take liability. So this is endorsement sans recourse. Illustration: pay D or order without recourse to me. So he is telling that pay to D only, pay to D or by order without recourse to me, without me involving in it, or without on your own risk. So these are the illustration. The next is a conditional endorsement. So if an endorsement is done with condition, if the transfer is done with condition, then it is called conditional endorsement. Example: pay B or order on his marriage. So this is endorsement by condition. So he is delivering it and he is mentioning a condition. So in endorsement, the condition is valid. The next is a partial endorsement. So partial endorsement is not valid, cannot be done, but if the already half of the amount of the instrument is paid, then the remaining half can be transferred. So in this, partial is allowed. So this is endorsement and kinds of endorsement. The next important concept is crossed checks. So what do you mean by crossed check? So in a check, in the corner, the bearer will draw two lines. The drawer will draw two lines on the corner of the check. So this is called a crossed check. It is usually drawn on the left top corner. Two small lines are drawn on the left top corner of a check. It is called as crossed check. So when a check bears across its face two parallel transverse lines, the check is said to be crossed. Effect. So why to do this crossed check? It is not payable at any counter of a bank. It can be paid only by a banker. So the person who is taking the payment by this check, he will have to have a bank account in that bank. Only then he can get payment from that person, from the banker. So it is payable only by a banker. So why it is done? So that the person who is taking the amount, his identity can be traced. So if he has obtained by fraud, then he will have to have a bank account in that bank to take the payment. So if he has a bank account, then his identity can be easily traced. So for safety purpose, the check is crossed. Kinds of crossing. So what are the kinds of crossing? The first is general crossing. So when no words are written in between the crossed lines, then it is called general crossing. The check is crossed but no name is written on that crossing, nothing is written, then it is called general crossing. The next is section 124, special crossing. So in special crossing, with in between the crossing, the banker name is written or something is written or note is written, then it is called a special crossing. Usually the banker name is written, so the drawer specifies the bank where the payment has to be done, so it is called special crossing. The next is a not negotiable crossing. So if written as not negotiable in between crossing of the lines, so in between crossing of the lines not negotiable is written, then it is called a not negotiable crossing. So in a not negotiable crossing, if the check is obtained by a fraud and the banker pays it, then the banker will be liable. So it is a dangerous risk for a banker in a not negotiable crossing. Case law. Great Western Railway Co. versus London and County Banking Co. In this case, a person obtained check by false pretenses. So he obtained by fraud. It was a not negotiable check, crossed check, not negotiable check, and the banker pays him. So the banker was held liable in this case. Paying banker. The next important concept is paying banker. So section 126 of the NI Act speaks about paying banker. So who is the paying banker? The banker who makes the payment of a crossed check. So crossed check can only be paid by a banker, and the banker who pays the cross check is called paying banker. So since paying banker is at a great risk, so if the check is obtained by fraud and the paying banker pays it, then he will be held liable. So the paying banker has given certain statutory protections which he can claim. So under section 10, the paying banker can claim protection under NI Act if a payment is done in due course. So payment in due course means if he has not done any negligence, and if he has done it in good faith, then he can claim protection under NI Act. The next statutory protection is under 85. If you order a check, then payment in due course. If the check is by order or by bearer, and if he has done it in a due course payment, then he is not liable. Then section 89. If the check does not appear to be crossed, banker pays in good faith, then not liable. The check is crossed, but the crossing is not visible to the banker, and in good faith he does the payment, then he is not liable. The next is the section 128. If payment done in due course, then not liable. Then section 126. If it pays to banker on whose name crossed, then not liable. So in the crossing, if the name of the banker is written to whom it is paid, then he pays. If he pays to that banker, then he is not liable. Then section 127. If crossed to more than one banker, then he can refuse the payment. If more than one banker name is written, then he can refuse the paying banker can refuse to pay it. So these are the statutory protections of a paying banker. The next concept is noting and protest. So what do you mean by noting? So when a promissory note or bill of exchange has been dishonored by non-acceptance or non-payment, then the holder may cause such dishonor to be noted by a notary public upon the instrument or upon the paper attached to an instrument or partly on both. So if a promissory note the payment refuses, the promisor refuses to pay, and in the bill of exchange the drawee refuses to accept it, then they have been dishonored. then the promissory note and the bill of exchange has been dishonored, then the payee to whom the payment has to be done, he can record such dishonor by going to a notary public, and he can sign the instrument by a notary public. On that instrument he can get a signature, or on a piece of paper he can attach to that instrument and get signature on that this instrument has been dishonored. This is called noting. The next is the section 100 protest. So along with the signature on the instrument or the paper, he can get a certificate from the notary public. Then that certificate is called as a protest. So this is done so that the payee can have an evidence that the instrument has been dishonored. So this concludes 4th unit. Thanks for watching.